That cost him points. Now the race is underway. The second attempt at the long track final. Yes, it's underway. Leon Cox leads off. Stuart Smith is second. Third is Richard Ainsworth. Fourth is Ryan Richards. And Stuart Smith is dropping back. He's back into fourth. Seemed to have trouble on that turn. Leon Cox with a commanding lead of something like 6 cars at the moment. So there must be something wrong with that Smith car at the moment. He's dropping right out and he's out of the race. Pulling up on the turn. Almost there. No, still in it. Looked for a moment he was going to be out. Smith battling to maintain a chance in this race. He's dropped placings to cars behind him on the grid. Ryan Richards and also Pete Kaiser are up there. So at the moment there are 3 Dutchmen in the first 4. The third place man is the solitary Englishman in the placings at the moment, Richard Ainsworth. So it's Ryan Richards who's hit the front. Leon Cox has dropped out, dropped right back down. Ryan Richards leads. Second is Richard Ainsworth. Third is Stuart Smith. Fourth is Pete Kaiser. Fifth is car number 12 Zotters. Then we have 25 Nabber, Andy Stott behind them. So now there is Leon Cox on the infield. He had a good lead but couldn't sustain it, couldn't keep the car going. So it's England, Britain second and third through Smith, or rather Ainsworth and Smith, with Richards out in front. He's looking for a hat-trick, 20-lap race. We've got 17 to go at the moment. The crowd willing on Smith, but it's Ainsworth who poses the biggest threat to the Dutch at the moment. Richards leads. Ainsworth though closing. This track now drying out. I'm sure if it was wet now the English would be rubbing their hands and thinking that this could be their chance. Andy Stott trying to work up some of the placings. Richard Ainsworth and Stuart Smith now closing the gap a little. So out in front of this 1984 World Long Track Stock Car Championship, Ryan Richards, winner in the last 2 years, looking for a hat-trick, car 15. Second place from Ulverston in Cumbria, Richard Ainsworth in 354. Third place from Rochdale in Lancashire, Stuart Smith. And there you see the lead, down to third place. So now will this develop into a battle between Ainsworth and Smith? Well, Smith straight through, and it looks like those early problems are going to be clawed back by Smith. We have 5 laps completed of this race, a quarter of the way. And Smith has Richards in his sights. And Richards will be mindful of what happened to Friedhelm Welters on the start. Well, I think maybe Stu might have thought if he hadn't hit the car maybe so hard, he would have been in the lead right the way through that race without it being stopped. Still, any contact at this kind of speed can often cause quite a few problems. So Stuart Smith having to make up that distance. It's 4 or 5 car lengths on Ryan Richards. The Dutch certainly emerging as a force in Formula One racing. The biggest threat to England's usual dominance of it. Certainly on the British circuits, although the Dutch have the marvellous record here in the long track final. The 1,000-metre racing. Last year Stuart Smith had problems in practice when he lost a hose in the event, came in second in the final, and it looks like it could be that way unless he can make up that vital difference on Ryan Richards. Richards first, second Smith, third is Ainsworth. Looking down the field for fourth place we have Pete Kaiser. Fifth place is car number 39. No, that's a lapped car, Joost de Bruyn. So now equal distance separating those first 3 cars at the moment. There is Pete Kaiser in fourth place. Bam Bam on the spoiler and Bam Bam picture on the back of his transporter. In the meantime, though, the race up in front. Richards now coming up on the back markers, and now the back markers are going to become a vital tactical aspect of the race. You can get one between you and the man chasing you. There's Robbie Craig pulled out. Robbie Craig, one of the regulars at Long Eaton, coming down here to Holland. Richards out in front, car 15, halfway through the race now in this long track final. Ryan Richards won, grid behind Stuart Smith at the start of the race, but Smith's early lap problems gave Richards the chance to break through. Now cutting through on the inside of car 73, Peter. There goes Smith as well. So England versus Holland, and it's the Dutch with the advantage. Stuart Smith working all the way, but that gap just is not closing. Richard Ainsworth in third, and the Dutch getting rather keyed up now. It looks like the championship is going to be coming the way of Holland once more for the 6th time in seven stagings. Stuart Smith reportedly uncommitted at the moment whether he's going to retire or not. A retirement decision possibly could even come today, who knows. Let's hope that it's not. And there we have Richens coming up on Zotas now in car 12. Richens through, and he's lapping virtually all the way up through the field at the moment. Now Smith, what's he going to do with that back marker? Is there going to be a bit of team racing by the Dutch? Zotas blocking the track, and he's not going to let Smith through easily if it means that Smith can get onto his fellow Dutchman Richens. So there goes Richens through on the inside once more of car 39. Lapping the second time that car. Now he's got car 14 in his sights. So like a 2-second gap between the first and second now. Now how many laps left? This is the question on everybody's lips. We have 5 laps left, 3/4 of the race completed, and it is looking like a Dutch victory here at Barlow. Richens maintaining his lead. Smith with early problems, but Richens driving like the expert driver he is here in Holland. Richens first, Smith second, third Ainsworth, and I have the feeling that is the way it is going to finish. And Stuart must have thought he had the race in his pocket on the first stage when he put Welters into the fence on the third turn, but then the race had to be stopped, and Smith just didn't seem the same away from the start second time around. Richens capitalising on it and driving a marvellous race to hold out Stuart Smith. We're now down into the final 4 laps. Now down to 3 kilometres for Smith to make up that gap. And that's a long distance though on this kind of circuit. It's a matter now of just waiting for a mistake possibly by Richens or a bit of mechanical failure. Richens holding a fine line, and if he keeps his act together, there is no reason why he can't beat Smith now. The 2-lap marker coming out. The Dutch are now getting on the edge of their seats. The British biting their fingernails. Stuart Smith being waved on all around the stadium by the British here. Richens getting the support of the Dutch. The 1-lap marker coming out. It's going to be a victory for Holland almost certainly now, barring any kind of disaster. There is the third place man Ainsworth. He's going to get in the frame. The final lap marker comes out. There is the distance that Stuart Smith must make up in 1 lap, and that is too much, even for a driver like Super Stu. Rian Richens is going to win the title around the final turn. The Dutch rising to their feet to acknowledge a hat-trick, but now the car's slowing. The car is slowing. Is it Stuart Smith going out wide though? Is he going to lose that second? It's a win for Rian Richens, the 1984 World Long Track champion. A hat-trick for Richens, second for Stuart Smith. The double just wasn't there. Third place, Richard Ainsworth. The top 3 in the World Long Track final here at Barlow. A controversial start, and the Dutch would have claimed maybe poetic justice when Stuart Smith failed to capitalise on a golden opportunity at the start of the second race. The car just didn't do it when he was looking to get through on. He had the inside gap there without Welters in his way, couldn't use it. Let Richens through on the first couple of laps. Richens was then away and there was no catching him. Rian Richens, 3 times World Long Track champion, the first driver to win it twice and the first driver ever to get the hat-trick. 3 wins in 3 years, 1982, 83 and 84. The Naco Brisca World Long Track champion for the 1984 season is Rian Richens. The Dutch national anthem is played to them. This is their world final. So Rian Richens wins the World Long Track final once more. It's a repeat of last year's 1-2. Richens first, Smith second, and Stuart Smith must be wondering when, if ever, he is going to win this World Long Track Championship.